If you feel like you're living the same challenges over and over again, the same types of relationships or the same blocks, it's probably not bad luck. Most of the time, it is because your soul is working on a life lesson or many life lessons. And here's the twist. Those lessons were chosen by your soul before you even incarnated as part as your soul journey. Welcome to Mystical and Practical, the podcast that demystifies the soul's journey, the spirit world, and spiritual practices. I'm Meli Guidance, a past life psychic, certified Akashic Records reader, and channeling coach. Here, we talk about spirit guides, the Akashic Records, reincarnation, and everything that connects the seen to the unseen, all with both feet firmly on the ground. Ready to decode the spirit world and connect with your inner magic? Let's jump right in. Hi there, today we're continuing our exploration of the soul plan that you prepared before incarnating in collaboration with your teacher soul guide. And we're going to talk about a topic that often makes people say, okay, I think life is trying to tell me something. So we're going to talk about, you probably guessed it, life lessons. And we will explore what a life lesson is and how many life lessons you can be navigating at the same time. I will also explain how your soul chooses its life lessons, and I will share the 10 most common life lessons that I see in Akashic Records reading. And I will also help you recognize which life lessons are active for you right now. So at the end of the episode, I will guide you through a short exercise to help you identify the lesson your soul is working on right now. And if you're someone who likes to journal, you may want to go and grab pen, paper, journal, because I know some people will like to do the mini exercise with their journal right by their side. Okay, but first, what is a life lesson? It's actually quite simple. A life lesson is a specific learning experience your soul wants to integrate. And that is not to punish you. It is not because you failed something, but to grow in awareness. So your soul wants to grow in awareness through its life lessons. It is not a random challenge that is imposed on you. It's often a chosen experience, even if, let's be honest, from a human perspective, it's not always comfortable. And a life lesson isn't trying to make you suffer. It's never about punishment. It's trying to help you expand. And now you may wonder how many life lessons you're navigating at once. As always, with all things, it depends. But in general, what I see is that a soul works on 2 to 3 major life lessons at the same time. And these life lessons can show up in relationships, in work, in health, or even in your relationship with yourself. That's what we would call self-development. And often you will notice that your situation may change, but the theme or the challenge stays the same. That's because there's a life lesson to learn beneath that. So, for example, maybe you don't have the same boss, you don't have the same life partner, you don't have the same friends, but you still find yourself feeling the same frustration, the same exhaustion, the same emotional ruin. And so you might wonder, well, how do I choose all these life lessons and these challenges? Well, I would say there are 3 factors. Oftentimes, those life lessons are chosen to balance karma from past lives. And this is where my expertise lies because I'm a past life psychic. So I'm really fascinated by how what happened in past lives, positive and negative. We often talk about the negative and the trauma because we have blockages there and things to heal, but positive experiences also affect us. But I like to take a look at what's the source of maybe a problem, a blockage, or even, a recurring pattern challenge that there's a life lesson hidden underneath, where is the source? And oftentimes it is in past lives. So one factor when you choose your life lessons is that you're going to look at the karma you're trying to balance from past lives. Another factor would be that you want to correct an excess or a mistake experienced before. Or maybe there is a moment when the soul drifted away from its soul plan and you want to bring it back to what you truly want to do as a soul, how you want to contribute, and how you can navigate better your life mission. So you are going to choose a life lesson that is going to keep you on track. So I'm going to share a personal example so you can understand better. I had a past life in Italy as a race car driver. Yes, me, little Meli, who in this life used to be quite scared of driving. Not so much nowadays because I discovered that past life and I understood the source and the trauma and I worked on it. Still, I prefer my husband to drive. But yeah, little Meli used to be a young man in Italy and I was very arrogant, very bold, and I wasn't listening to the professionals around me because when you're a race car driver, you have this whole team behind you. And the result was a fatal accident, and it was quite harsh. I will not give you all the little details because some people might be too sensitive for it, but on the racetrack, I had the accident. And that was really painful and ugly. And then I was brought to the hospital. So it took a while to get me to the hospital. And then I had multiple surgeries at the hospital. Every time I woke up, it was like, oh, what, there's another problem. And in the end, I ended up dying on the operation table during the last operation. And so the lesson brought into this lifetime from this past life as a race car driver is, well, actually, it's more like 2 life lessons. There is a big lesson of humility. And there is a second life lesson of listening. So the result of this in this lifetime is that I spent a long time as a student. I'm asking a lot for advice. I used to hesitate often. Now I kind of integrated more that lesson, so I don't have to hesitate that often, but I used to hesitate that often because I wasn't sure if I could trust myself. And I also used to assume others knew better than me. So you see, sometimes you're navigating a lesson and you're going to an extreme. That lesson of humility that I am navigating, it pushes me to ask advice to other people. And it's really funny because with Meli guidance, I'm seeking advice more and more towards experts. So I worked with a woman on storytelling. I work with another woman on SEO for my website. I even collaborated recently with a podcast expert to help me with the podcast. So I still have that reflex with my lesson of humility. It's like, okay, I need to go and listen for advice. But I used to assume that others knew better than me. So while integrating that lesson, I realized that I can get advice and then I can trust myself to make the right call. I can trust myself to listen to the advice, listen to the expert, and then adjust the advice to my situation, my values, and what I want in life. So my lesson now is learning discernment, knowing when to listen and when to trust myself. So now I'm going to share the 10 most common life lessons, and these are the ones that I see most often in my Akashic Records reading. I am not saying that there are only 10 life lessons in the world. It's just the 10 lessons that I see the most. First lesson is the one that I just talked about. It is the lesson of humility, and that is learning to ask for help and to recognize that you don't have all the answers and to listen before acting. So, in a way, you learn to be less impulsive and to listen more when you are navigating that lesson of humility. Second lesson is a lesson of patience. That is when everything feels like too slow for your mind, but it's actually perfectly timed for your soul. So you learn how to navigate difficult situations and situations that you feel that are too slow, and you are realizing that there is a huge gift in embracing the slowness and maybe not knowing what's next for you in life, but just being patient. And when I'm saying this, I'm thinking about a situation that a lot of people are going through, is that at some point in life, you either lose your job or you have less job opportunities if you are an independent worker. Maybe you have less clients. You need to be patient. I'm not saying that you just stay put and don't try to get a new job or don't try to get new clients, but you need to be patient that something good or something even better will come. Maybe a better job will come, a better opportunity will come. You need to be patient and put your trust in the universe. Now, you need to do some action on your side because you're the one incarnated on Earth. But I like how there is this kind of trusting through patience. Another lesson is the lesson of letting go. And boy, do I see this one. In this lesson, it is when you want to understand everything, when you want to plan everything and control everything, and the more you try to control, the more chaos ensues. It's the way of life to tell you, just breathe, just let go, just let life be life and go more with the flow. And remember, this year, 2026, is the year of the Wheel of Fortune. So a lot of people are navigating that letting go lesson. Another lesson is a lesson in self-trust. So it's learning to dare to listen to yourself even when others don't understand your path. In self-trust, you're trusting yourself to be unique and you're trusting yourself to make the right call for you according to your values and what you want in life and of life. And the next lesson is a lesson of self-love. This is a lesson that is pushing you to stop the habit of choosing yourself last. When you're putting everyone else before you, you're completely depleted. Even when you're kind, empathetic, and always there for the others, you may think that like the universe will reward you, but if you don't have enough self-love for yourself, and if you don't prioritize yourself, the universe is not going to reward this. Because it's like when you take the plane and they tell you in the security instructions that you need to put on your mask first before you put it on your child's face. This is the same thing. You need to prioritize yourself and you need to give yourself self-love. Another lesson is the lesson of authenticity. And this is when you no longer wear a mask to be loved, even if it means disappointing some people. That's a big lesson if you have a fear of self-expression. And if you have a fear of self-expression, a life lesson in authenticity, you probably have a performer soul type. So if you don't know what soul types are, you can go and watch. I will link the episode below, but I did an episode on soul types. And you may have a life mission, for example, maybe a life mission of change. And to bring on change, you need to express yourself in groups. You see how it all ties together. Everything that I've been talking about since the beginning of the podcast, since the beginning of taking a look at our soul journey, like everything is in everything, as we say in French Canadian. Tout est dans tout. That's the French Canadian expression. Tout est dans tout. Everything is in everything. Okay, next life lesson is a lesson in personal responsibility. Being accountable for yourself. So this is asking from you to move away from thinking patterns when you keep saying, oh, this is because of yada yada. Oh, it's all somebody's fault. So you're not accountable for what is going on in your life. And this life lesson of personal responsibility is asking you to come back to asking yourself, what am I choosing right now? You always have a choice. You always have accountability. So it is asking you to empower yourself, in fact. Okay, so another life lesson is the lesson of resilience. This is a lesson when you learn to get back up again and again without defining yourself solely by what you've been through. So if you're someone who, let's take an example, maybe someone who at 5-year-old, they lost their parents in a car crash. And then they were moved on from one foster family to another. There was a lot of trauma. Life was very, very harsh. And they get through a lot in life and they always get back up. But they always put themselves in the victim mode and always identify as that child that felt rejected and frustrated and like they didn't belong. So that's a life lesson of resilience that is half learned. So that person will get back up again and again, but will define themselves by their most potent trauma. So what you want to do in the life lessons of resilience is, yes, you want to get back up again and again. You want to be positive. You want to go with the flow of life. And you are not defining yourself by a traumatic experience or even a positive experience. Okay, so we have the two last life lessons. There is a life lesson of forgiveness, not for someone else, but for yourself, to free yourself from what's holding you emotionally. And there is the last life lesson that is a lesson in acceptance. That's a huge one. Acceptance is welcoming what is without fighting what cannot be changed. And it's oftentimes accepting what is without judging it as positive or negative, but just as it is. And the best practice to navigate and integrate a lesson of acceptance, by the way, is the meditation of mindfulness. Mindfulness meditation is the best practice. So if you know that you're navigating that lesson, I would say do some mindfulness meditation. So as I said, you can work on several life lessons at once, but there's usually one that is dominant during a specific phase of life. And that list of 10 life lessons, it is not an exhaustive list. So it's just the 10 that I see the most in Akashic readings, and there are many, many others. So if you think of additional life lessons, feel free to share them in the comments. Now, I had a question from Whitney regarding life lessons. And if you're wondering, what, someone left a question? How do I do that? Right now, you need to check my stories on Instagram and Facebook. I haven't done it on YouTube yet. So if you don't like social media like Instagram and Facebook, and you'd like me to ask the questions on YouTube, just let me know and I will do it. But so far, it's been in my stories. I just say, hey guys, next podcast is going to be on that subject. If you have any questions, drop them. So Whitney asked a question and I am answering her question today. And Whitney wants to know, do members of the same soul family tend to have similar life lessons? So if you don't know what a soul family is, you can go and check out episode number 2 on soul family and the birth of a soul. Okay, Whitney wants to know, do members of the same soul family tend to have similar life lessons? I would say yes, it happens, but both with soul family and your biological family. Biological family means like your birth family on Earth, so your parents, your sibling, aunts, uncles. So we move through soul levels together as souls, okay? If you don't know what the soul levels are or the soul ages are, you can go and check out episode number 4 that is linked in the description. So when our soul is born, we're born with the same soul family, and with that soul family, we navigate soul levels together from 1 to 10. And there are certain lessons that repeat at each level. So, for example, at level 3, souls often work on collaboration. And on level 6, they often work on justice. So that doesn't mean that at level 6, there is only the lesson of justice that souls are working through, but justice is a big one. And so everyone in your soul family can be working on the lesson of justice, but also everyone will be working on other lessons according to, their karma, their past lives. So everyone is going to have a unique mix of life lessons, but there's usually like a big one that is associated with the level where you are right now. But there's also life lessons that you choose when you are choosing your biological parents. That's very strategic, actually, when you do your life plan. So, for example, if you know that a parent will be navigating a life lesson like letting go or authenticity, you may choose to incarnate with them to experience a mirror of the lesson you are meant to learn. So this can go two ways. Either you are looking at your parent when you are a child, and they are navigating that lesson, but they're not achieving it quite well, and you're looking at them and you're thinking, boy, I am not going to repeat that. I am not going to act and react the same way. That's very classic of an old soul because we have so much experience reincarnating that oftentimes we're really, really young, but we have that consciousness that, oh, I'm not going to be like that. Or maybe your parent is navigating the life lesson and they are learning it, like they're really achieving it. And by looking at them, you see how they're changing, maybe how their thought patterns are dissolving, changing, and that's very inspiring. And so it's going to help you navigate that life lesson very quickly. So as you see, it can go either ways. Okay, now you might be wondering how to identify your life lessons. Well, there are 3 things to observe. First, you need to observe the challenges that keep repeating. And then you observe the situations that always trigger the same emotions. And then you observe the relationships that activate the same wounds. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that. You want to observe 3 things to find out the life lessons you're navigating. The challenges that repeat, the situations that always trigger the same emotions, and the relationships that activate the wounds. Okay, so now ask yourself, what is life trying to teach me? And the life lessons you're navigating are rarely subtle. Like, they tend to insist. They don't tend to be shy and hide. Like, a life lesson is really big in your face, sorry. Okay, let's take a look at a concrete example of this. If you notice that you often attract relationships where you give a lot and you over-adapt and you end up feeling exhausted, unseen, or drained, the situation may change. So maybe the person you're with, the relationships, they change, but the emotion stays the same. You're still feeling fatigued, frustrated, or even sad. Now, if you ask in this situation, what is life trying to teach me here? The underlying life lesson could be a life lesson of self-love, or establishing healthy boundaries, or having more accountability, more personal responsibility. And until the lesson is integrated, life will present another relationship, another context with the same underlying theme, so that you can wake up, see the lesson in big red flashing light, and act on it, and learn it, and integrate it. Okay, before we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a question, a simple question, but one that can shift your perspective. What situation in your life right now bothers you the most? The situation that makes you go, ugh. Not because it's necessarily difficult, but it keeps coming back and it feels really annoying. It bothers you. Think about it. Don't look for a mental answer. Just observe what comes. You will see that you might have a kind of a download as an answer, kind of a word popping up, or just a feeling, and you know what that feeling means. You might just see the situation that bothers you the most. Just observe what comes up and stay with that. If you want to do the micro exercise with me right now, you can go grab your pen, paper, or just do it without it, but just thinking. And you might want to press pause from time to time. So if it feels safe for you right now, take a breath. And think about that recurring situation, that bothering situation that came to mind. And gently ask yourself, if this situation were here to teach me something, what would it be? Let a word, an emotion, or a sensation arise. There's no right or wrong answer, and what comes up is often exactly what your soul is trying to show you. Okay, so you might want to press pause if you want to finish with the exercise. And if you're done, I invite you to share in the comments the word, the feeling, or the emotion that came up when you connected with this life lesson. And remember, life lessons don't ask to be perfectly understood. They ask to be recognized, to be seen. Before I let you go, I want to remind you that if you'd like to understand your life lessons more deeply and why you chose them, you can always book an Akashic Records reading with me on my website, or you can learn how to read your own Akashic Records with my online course. And of course, I'm going to link all of this below. And if you are not sure what the Akashic Records are, you can actually download my free guide on the Akashic Records. The link is in the description, and it is a guide where I guide you through a first visit of your Akashic Records. Okay, so now that you know more about life lessons, I hope that you can look at what you're experiencing with a little more gentleness. And maybe some situations feel less unfair, and maybe you understand better why certain themes keep repeating. And most importantly, maybe you realize that nothing is here to punish you. Actually, everything is here to help you evolve, integrate, grow, come closer to who you truly are. And if you feel called, I love for you to share in the comments. You can share which life lesson you think you're navigating right now, or you can simply tell if that episode helped you, what this episode helped you realize. As always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your presence, your openness, your curiosity. I will see you very soon for the next part of this soul journey exploration. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Mystical and Practical podcast with Meli Guidance. If this episode spoke to you, please subscribe to the channel and leave some stars, a thumbs up, or a comment. It truly helps to share the podcast with other old souls seeking a deeper understanding of the spirit world. If you're interested in getting an Akashic Records reading, a tarot reading, or joining one of my online courses, you will find all the details at meliguidance.com. This podcast was edited by plcm.ca and the original music was composed by record.bandcamp.com. Until next time, remember, we are all souls having a human experience and we can all be mystical and practical.